Breaking news! The Detroit Lions are having a blast in the NFL free agency period, and there's a lot to unpack. Rumors are swirling, potential trades are being discussed, and the front office is strategizing to make this team even stronger for next season. But what moves will they actually make? Are we about to see a blockbuster trade? Or will the Lions focus on smart, strategic signings to fill key needs? Let's dive into everything you need to know, because things are about to get wild. Before I tell you all the details, make sure you've hit the like button if you've been a Lions fan for over 20 years. It's great to see fans of all ages. Maximum respect. If possible, comment something like, "Go Lions! We're going to the Super Bowl this year." Now, let's get to the good stuff. Let's start with one of the biggest names circulating in Detroit, Trey Hendrickson. The Cincinnati Bengals have made it clear that they're willing to part with their dominant pass rusher, and the asking price? A late second-round pick. This is where things get interesting. The Lions happen to own the number 60 pick in this year's draft. On paper, this seems like a no-brainer. Hendrickson is a high-impact pass rusher, and the Lions could certainly use another edge rusher to complement Aidan Hutchinson. But here's the rub. It's not just about draft capital, it's about the contract. The financials could make this a tough move for Detroit to justify. Would you pull the trigger on this trade? Would you give up a second-round pick for a proven pass rusher, knowing it would come with a significant financial commitment? Let us know in the comments. Now, let's talk about another massive name floating around, DK Metcalf. Yes, you heard that right. The dominant, physically imposing wide receiver from Seattle has been the subject of trade speculation, and his name has been linked to the NFC North. But hold on, before you get too excited, let's look at the reality of the situation. The Seahawks are reportedly seeking a first and third round pick in return for Metcalf. That's a steep price. And while Metcalf would undeniably make Jared Goff's life easier and bring another dimension to this offense, the Lions already have two top-tier wide receivers in Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jameson Williams. Adding Metcalf would mean making a huge financial commitment while also shifting Williams to a third-option role. Is that really the best way to allocate resources? Probably not. But here's the thing, if Metcalf does get traded, he could still land in the NFC North. A team like Green Bay, with their young receivers and draft capital, could make a move. How would you feel about seeing DK Metcalf in a Packers jersey, torching the Lions secondary? It's a real possibility. Now, let's shift gears to more realistic targets for Detroit in free agency. If you're hoping for a splashy move like Stephon Diggs or Devontae Adams, don't hold your breath. The Lions are focused on building through the draft and making calculated moves in free agency. But that doesn't mean they won't be aggressive in filling key needs. One name to watch? Joey Bosa. The star pass rusher has been released, and while he comes with injury concerns, he could be a great situational addition to the Lions' defensive front. If Detroit is planning to draft a pass rusher early, having a guy like Bosa in a rotational role makes a lot of sense. Another intriguing possibility? Harold Landry. The versatile edge rusher was connected to the Lions last season, and now that he's available, Detroit could take another look. He would likely come at a more affordable price compared to some of the other big-name options, and his production has been solid. Would he be the missing piece to push this defense to the next level? And then there's the situation in the secondary. Carlton Davis is a name that has been buzzing in Detroit circles. The talented cornerback is reportedly looking for around $17.5 million per year, while the Lions seem to be holding firm at around $14 million. Can they bridge the gap? It's a tough call. Davis is a valuable piece in this defense, and losing him would create a significant hole. But with teams like Jacksonville expressing interest, the Lions will have to act fast if they want to keep him in Detroit. If they can't get a deal done, someone like Byron Murphy from Minnesota could be a viable fallback option. But make no mistake, keeping Davis would be a major win for this team. Of course, the Lions aren't just looking at outside additions, they're also focused on retaining key pieces from last year's squad. One of the biggest re-signings so far has been Derrick Barnes. Some fans have raised concerns about the price tag, but let's be clear, Barnes was playing at a high level before his injury. Keeping him around provides continuity and stability, which are crucial as the team looks to build on last season's success. One of the most surprising names being tossed around? Justin Fields. Yes, the former Bears quarterback. Now, let's be real, this one seems unlikely. The Lions are fully committed to Jared Goff, and Fields would likely prefer to go to a team where he has a shot at starting. But imagine the chaos if Fields did end up in Detroit as a backup. Would he thrive in Ben Johnson's offense? Would he push Goff? It's an interesting thought experiment, but don't expect it to happen. So, what's next? Free agency officially kicks off on Monday, and things are going to move fast. If the Lions make a big signing, or if Carlton Davis re-signs, you can bet we'll be here to break it all down. But in the meantime, we want to hear from you. Which moves would you make? Would you trade for Trey Hendrickson? Should the Lions go after a veteran pass rusher like Joey Bosa? And what about DK Metcalf? Do you think he'll end up in the NFC North? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any breaking news. One thing is crystal clear, this is a pivotal offseason for the Detroit Lions. Coming off a season that proved they are legitimate contenders, the front office knows that the right moves in free agency could be the difference between making another deep playoff run or falling short. But with Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell at the helm, fans can trust that every decision will be made with a clear vision in mind, building a championship-caliber team that can sustain success for years to come. Let's go back to the edge rusher situation because this is arguably the biggest area where Detroit could make a splash. The rumors around Trey Hendrickson are intriguing, but what about a surprise name that hasn't been talked about as much? Matthew Judon, the veteran pass rusher, has been linked to the Lions, and while nothing is imminent, it's another example of how Detroit is keeping its options open. The common theme here? The Lions know they need to bolster their pass rush, and they are exploring multiple ways to do it. DeMarcus Lawrence is another veteran who could be a situational addition, but with age becoming a factor, he might not be the best fit unless Detroit wants a short-term rental. Now, let's pivot to the secondary because this could be the most critical position to address outside of the pass rush. Carlton Davis remains the top priority, and if the Lions can get a deal done, it would be a huge win. But if not, other names are in the mix. Paulson Adebo from the Saints, for example, could be a solid fallback plan. He's younger, has good size, and fits what Detroit wants in its defensive backs. But make no mistake, if the Lions can find a way to bring Davis back, that alone would be one of the biggest victories of free agency. Think about it, continuity in the secondary is key, especially with a new defensive coordinator stepping in. Keeping a proven veteran like Davis could be the stabilizing force this unit needs. And speaking of stability, what about the offensive line? The Lions have built one of the best O-lines in the league, and maintaining that dominance will be crucial. Kevin Zeitler has been heavily connected to Detroit, and while he's not the flashiest name, he would be a rock-solid addition to the interior line. Brendan Scherf is another name to watch, but Zeitler seems to be the more realistic target. If Detroit locks him in, that would go a long way toward ensuring Jared Goff has the protection he needs to operate this offense at a high level. Let's talk about the wide receiver situation because this is where things could get a little controversial. Some fans are clamoring for the Lions to make a move for a big-name receiver like Stephon Diggs or DK Metcalf. But is that really necessary? Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jameson Williams are already a dynamic duo, and adding a third high-priced receiver might not be the smartest allocation of resources. So now, it's your turn. What do you think the Lions should do? Should they make a move for Trey Hendrickson or play it safe and focus on cheaper pass rushing options? Is Carlton Davis a must-sign, or should they explore other cornerback options? And what about the offense? Do they need to add another weapon, or is the focus better placed on protecting Jared Goff and keeping the offensive line elite? The next few days are going to be huge, and you can bet that as soon as the Lions make a move, we'll be here to break it all down. Make sure to subscribe, hit that notification bell, and get ready, because this offseason could be the one that finally puts the Detroit Lions over the top.